We continue now at the top of Daf Pechesam and Aleph and Mesechet Yevamos. This is Yevamos Daf 88a. The Gemara is discussing the idea that one witness can be believed on a D'oraisa level, on a Torah level. And so the Gemara says in the Reisha, when it was talking about one witness telling a person that they had eaten chaylev, so the Gemara now asks, "My time Rabbanan." So what's the reason in the Reisha why the Rabbanan are saying chayiv? Now, ilema mishum demehemin. If you say it's because the one witness, the case over there in the Reisha of the Brisa is with one witness. If you say it's because the one witness is actually believed. Now, as Rashi over here says, "My time Rabbanan ki ishtik." We're talking about when the response of the defendant is that he's quiet. So if you're going to say that when the defendant is quiet, the reason why it's chayav achatos is because the one witness is believed, as you're trying to argue. But that doesn't work with the seifa of ha'trei bi'alma. But in a situation of two, let's say two witnesses, which is the seifa of the very same brisa, the avagav de kamachish lu. Now, even though he, in that case of the seifa, he's contradicting them and he's arguing with what they're saying. But in umahemni, but in general, two witnesses are believed; they're considered credible. The kapatri rabbanon, the rabbanon say pater in that case, because again, as the rabbanon said in the seifa of the brisa, they said he could always just argue he did it b'mezid and get out of a carbon, and therefore he's believed against the two witnesses. But the point is, in that particular case where you have two witnesses, even there the Rabbanan say that he wins that case, and they are not trusted. So therefore, in the ratio where it's just one witness, certainly they're not believing the one witness. Elalav mishum de ishtik. Rather, it must be that in that brisa, the real reason the Rabbanan are saying chayiv is because his response was that he was quiet. Ushtika kahoda adamya. And shtika, when a person is quiet, it's like he's admitting, and so really that has nothing to do with our issue of whether one witness is believed. The reasoning in that brisa is because of shtika kahoda. And so instead the Gemara says, Ella rather svarahi, rather it's illogical that we should believe the one witness. Rashi over here says, Inema Elohadehem nu rabban le'ed echad b'isha svarahu. The reason why we believe in eid echad, when it comes to an isha, we're talking again in our case of the Mishnah, where the husband, we're not sure if he has died or not. The reason why we believe one aid is because of a svara as follows. Midi dahave achaticha safek shel chelev safek shel shuman. It's similar to a case, let's say you have a case where you have a cut of meat, you don't know if it's a cut of fat, you don't know if it's chelev, which is not kosher, or is it shuman, which is kosher? V'yasa eid echad, and then one witness comes, v'yamar, and he says, Bari li de shuman, who I'm certain that is shuman de mehemen. So we know that over there we do trust the eid echad, and so too over here. Rashi over here says, v'yamar Bari li de shuman hu de mehemen v'havadai pshita lon. Now in that case, it is obvious to us the samchin aleh that we rely on the one witness calls man shelo nechshed, as long as there's no reason to suspect otherwise. Because if you didn't trust the witness in that case, no person could ever eat by his friend's house. Nobody could rely on the people in his own household, because you'd never know whether the food that you're eating is kosher or not. So obviously, you believe in eid echad in that case, and therefore over here also, by the case of the woman whose husband has traveled to Medina Sayyam, we don't know his status, we also believe in eid echad. But the Gemara continues, Midami, can you really compare this case of the piece of fat that we don't know if it's chaylev or shuman? Can you really compare that to our Mishnah? Hasam lo eschazik isur. Over there, you don't have a chezkas isur. There's no presumption on this one way or the other whether it's shuman or chaylev. But haches chazik isur. Here you have a chazaka already. The eishes ish, that the woman is a married woman. V'yein davar shebe'erva pachos mishnayim. When you have a davar shebe'erva, you need two witnesses. So here you want to undo her chazaka of being a married woman, so you wouldn't need two witnesses. It's not similar at all to the case of chati. Safek shel chaylev, safek shel shuman, and rather the Gemara says on the contrary, holo damya ela lechaticha devadai chaylev. If you want to compare it to a case of a chaticha that you know that you're certain is chaylev. V'yasa eid echad, and one witness comes v'yamar and says, Bori li de shuman have. I am certain this is not chaylev, this is shuman. Delo mehemen, and there the one witness is not believed. So to here the witness should not be believed. The Gemara says, no, mi dummy, is that really comparable? Hasam over there, afilu also beimei lo mehemen. Even if 100 people came and told you that something that you knew was vadai chaylev, they're trying to tell you it's not, they wouldn't be believed. So you can't compare that case either. But hach over here, kevan dechiyasu beitrei mehemni, since if two people would come and say that the husband has died, they would be believed. So chad nami lehemni, so also one we should believe. And so instead the Gemara says, midi dahavi atevel hektish v'konamos. It's similar, meaning our case with the one witness that's coming in terms of the husband is similar to cases of tevel, hektish, and konamos. Let's say by tevel, you're testifying that something is not tevel, that truma, etc., has been separated properly, or let's say you have something you're not sure if it's hektish or not, or konamos. The Gemara will explain all these cases. So there, again, we rely on one witness, and over here, we'll also rely on one witness. But the Gemara wants to clarify, Hai tevel hechidami. So what exactly is your case of tevel? Edi day, if the food belongs to him, so mishum deviyadu l'sakna, of course the person, that one person, the owners believed, because he's able to he can separate himself the truma. So since it's in his ability to fix the issue, so he's believed to say that he took off the truma, etc. Ela da'acher, so rather you'll say no, it belongs to someone else. So in that case, my kasavar, what exactly do we hold with regards to the food of somebody else, the tevel of someone else? Ikasavar Torah mishal al shal chaveru. If we hold in general, a person can take truma from his property on account or on behalf of somebody else's property, and einot tzarich das bailam, and he doesn't even need the input and the knowledge of the owner. So again, it's the same thing. Mishum deviyadu l'sakno. It's because he has the ability to fix it, so he's believed. Not comparable to our case. Now, if he holds that you do need the knowledge of the owner if you're going to fix his food, and now he's saying, I know that this is not tevel. I know everything was separated properly. So if the mesakin, I know everything was separated properly. So he gufa minolan. So that itself, how do we know that the one person is believed? We have no source for that either. So how could you bring this as the source to trusting one witness when it comes to the husband? And the Gemara says the same argument, hektish nami. We can make the same argument when it comes to determining whether something is hektish. What kind of hektish are we talking about? Kedushas damim. If it just had kedushas damim, again, kedushas damim is when you sanctify something for its value to the Beis HaMikdash. So they're going to use it, they'll sell it off in order to use that money to fix up the Beis HaMikdash. But there, mishum deviyadu lifdo, so there also it's in his control. He can always redeem it himself. And therefore, since he can redeem it himself, he's trusted, not comparable to our case. And he kedushas haguf. If we're talking about kedushas haguf, like meaning a carbon, so again, edi day, if it's his carbon, so mishum deviyadu is shulei Allah. So it's no different than a vow, and he can go and ask a chacham to try to undo the vow. So he has the ability to do that, so he's believed. Ela da'acher. So rather you'll say the carbon belongs to somebody else. V'yamar yadana bei de ishal mari aleh. And the guy says, I happen to know that the owner already asked about this and undid it. It's no longer hektish. But he gufa minol. And again, we're back to the same question. How do you know that one person is believed in that case? And konamos is a similar case also. It's this situation where you say a vow with the language of konem in order to sanctify the item, to make it like a hektish. So konamos nami, when it comes to there also. Ikos yesh me'ila bekonamos. If you're going to say that when you make a konem, that there is me'ila over there, meaning that if you use that item, which is really supposed to be for hektish, you use it for yourself, it has a status, it has a din of me'ila, it's the avera of me'ila, that you're using something hektish for personal use. Ukedushas damim nachtalu. If you're holding that, then you're holding that there's a kedushas damim over here. So misham deviyadu leftosa, then we're back to what we said before. He has the ability to redeem it, and that's why he's believed as one witness. V'ikos avar ein me'ila bekonamos. Now, if we hold there's no me'ila by konamos, ve'isr bi'al mahu derachiv lehu akasve, it's just simply an isr on the item has certain prohibitions on it. So again, the same thing, edi day, if it's his item, mishum deviyadu l'shulei Allah, because he has the ability and the power to ask a chacham and undo the oath that he took. Ela da'acher, rather it belongs to somebody else. V'yamar, and the guy says, Ano yadana de ishal mari aleh, I happen to know that the owner already asked and undid the oath, but he gufim and all. And again, back to the same question, that case itself, how do we know that one witness is believed? And so therefore we're back to our question, why is it that one witness is believed in the case of the husband over here in our Mishnah? And the Gemara finally answers, Amar Rabbi Zera says, since we're so strict with this woman at the end, meaning if it turns out that the one witness is wrong, and the husband is actually alive, and she got married even though she was still married to the first husband, we're very strict on her, as the Mishnah says, Teitze mizeh mizeh, she has to divorce from both of them and all of the other stringencies that are listed in the Mishnah. So therefore, therefore we're lenient in terms of the beginning, because we figure that even though we're relying on one witness, she's not going to take any chances. She knows it's so strict if she makes a mistake, and therefore we're willing to be lenient at the outset. But the Gemara says, Lo lichmer v'lo leikel. Why not just don't be strict at the end, and don't be lenient in the beginning, just treat it like a regular case? And to that the Gemara says, Mishum iguna akilu barabbanan. No, because we don't want this woman to be an iguna, we want to allow her to remarry, and therefore the Rabbanan are lenient, and they rely on one witness. And we'll take a look at two Rashis over here. Ikasavar yesh me'ila bekonamos. If you hold there's me'ila by konamos, what does that mean? The kodshe bedek habayis, and that means it's kodshe bedek habayis. Misha amar konem davar zelai. When you say a konem on a particular item, you're basically sanctifying it to bedek habayis, again for the repair, to use the value, the money for the repair of the Beis HaMikdash. V'ikasavar ein me'ila. Now, if he holds there's no me'ila by konamos, the konem lashon nederhu, that would mean that konem is just a language of an oath. It's just a language of neder. Again, the Gemara then goes on to say that you're able to undo that if you're the owner, etc. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Teitze mizel mizev chulu. It said again, let's say the woman remarried. She thought her husband was dead, and so then she remarries, and it turns out the husband comes back, and he's alive. So she has to divorce from both of the men. And the Gemara now says, Amar Rav says, Lo shanu elo shenisus be'ed echad. The whole Mishnah is learned only in a case where she's marrying on the testimony of one witness. So in that case, she marries based on the testimony of one witness, meaning marries the second man. Now her original husband comes back, she has to divorce from both. Avol nisas al pi shnei edim. But if she gets married because two witnesses say that her husband died, lo teitze, she does not need to leave the marriage of the second man. In other words, even though the husband is standing right in front of us, we see that he is alive, it doesn't matter. Two witnesses said he's dead, we can consider him to be dead, and she's allowed to remain married to the second man. The Gemara says, in the West, they laughed at this teaching of Rav. Asa gavra v'koi, the person, the original husband, is coming, he's standing right in front of us. V'yata amrit lo teitze, and you're saying she doesn't have to separate from the second man. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's obvious he's alive. So what is Rav even saying? And so the Gemara says, lo no tzrich, it's needed, de lo yadinanle. He's standing in front of us, but we don't recognize him. So we're not really sure it's the original husband, and that's Rav's chiddush. If we're not sure who this man is, she can stay married to the second one. But the Gemara says, 1 second. If we don't recognize the guy, so we said that if it was only one witness that she relied upon to get remarried, and the husband comes, then in that case she does have to separate from both. But why is that true? If we don't even recognize the original husband, let her stay married to the second individual. What's the difference? And so the Gemara says, lo no tzricha, we need it. The asu beitrei, that actually two witnesses come. V'amri, and they say, anon havinon bahadei michin nafak v'yad hashta. We were with this guy from when he left until right now, and so we can testify with certainty that this is the husband. V'atunhu de lo yadisule, and you're just not able to recognize him because his appearance has changed. So therefore, that already can explain it. If it's only one witness, she married by the testimony of one witness. Now two witnesses are saying that was bad, that the husband is still alive, so she has to separate. But if she married by two witnesses, now it's 2 against 2 already. So if it's 2 against 2, that's why Rav was saying she doesn't have to separate from the second husband. And the Gemara continues, because the pasuk says, Vayaker Yosef es echav vehem lo hikiru. It says Yosef recognized his brothers, but they didn't recognize him. And so the idea is, you see that even relatives might not recognize one another if it's been a long time. V'yamar Rav Chisda said, Melamed sheyatza b'lo chasim hazakon uva b'chasim hazakon. You say that when he left, you see from here that when he left, he did not have a beard, and now when he came back, he had a beard, and that's why even his brothers were not able to recognize him. So again, you see that appearance can change to that extent. But the Gemara continues, 1 second. Still, at the end of the day, if Rav is saying that there were 2 witnesses, but now there's 2 against 2, you have 2 witnesses that allowed her to remarry, and 2 are now saying the husband is alive. Treyu treininu, that should be 2 against 2, and they should cancel out. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Peches Amud Beis.